teammate Zach Mohammed, with Bresc of France, who we saw just now amongst the starters. So he will be looking to improve on that bronze medal from 12 months ago in Piemonte, just outside Turin. As they start fast here, they are flying over that first section. There are plenty of athletes who get their 15 seconds in the spotlight, race really hard for the first few minutes, and then have to ease right back on the throttle. But
there's Edson Barrios there is using his track speed. He's a very fine steeplechaser, the tall Portuguese athlete, 8:22. He's running the track. On the track, he is shooting his way to the front there. Benini from France as well, as we see lots of athletes. As I said, no pens this year. It's open season. Elbows engaged on the start line. You need to.
Well, the early leader is Jorik van der Kokova of Belgium, the 22-year-old. He's making sure he's seen early on, at least. It would be a major upset if he was able to penetrate the top 10. He's only run 14:34 for 5,000. These fellas in this race will run a minute quicker than that. Rory Leonard in the white cap, easy to spot in second place. 16th and 11th in the last 2 years of this discipline, so good steady progress from Leonard from 21 to 22. Can he do that today and get well into the top 10, or maybe sneak a medal?
Yeah, Britain have dominated this race in recent years, won last year's team event. Charles Hicks as well, of course, won the last two. He is eligible, but having turned professional, chose not to come this year, but it would still surprise me if it's not at least one or two, maybe even three Brits filling that podium later on, because they have a very strong hand here, occupying second and third there at the moment.
Matt Stonia, 3:31 1500 metre runner. He's back in 10th place at the moment, only a couple of minutes on the clock, so it's early days yet. I'm not sure how much money I'd put on, with all due respect, on Jorik van der Kokova being there in the latter stages.
It's Mustafa Musa coming through there on the right side as well of Finland. Can he keep the good times rolling for the Flying Finns? Finnish under 23 champion over 1500 metres and 5000 metres, 8th at the recent Nordic cross-country championships.
Great Britain have had 6 goals in this discipline in the past, in this particular race. Charlie Hicks having won it the last 2 years for Great Britain. Jimmy Gressier, well, he's now a major track star for the French, of course. He won this title 3 times, 2017, 2018 and 2019. There was no 2020 edition, of course, because of the pandemic. And then Charlie Hicks took over and got his brace of wins last year and 12 months previously in Dublin. Now Van der Kokova is just being swallowed up by the pack, and the British vests, there's 4 of them up there in the top 10 or 12. It's looking all good already. Well, a long way to go.
Yeah, a long way to go. Just 1 kilometre lap complete, and now the hard yard start. 4 1500 metre laps, 6k left. All these men will be pretty comfortable. If you're in trouble now, you're in trouble, full stop. But all about measuring your effort carefully. Harder to do on a course like this, because lots of heavy mud, but also lots of good running patches. Spend too much on one, you could suffer in a big way on the other.
So the first lap of 1 kilometre is done, and then 4 laps of 1500 metres they head out on now, and already gaps appearing, top 10 beginning to sort themselves out. And some of these bends, it makes sense, doesn't it, to actually hang around the outside and run on the firmer going than to hang onto the rail, the shortest line, but actually be in mud the whole way.
Absolutely, that mud does stick to your spikes as well. It's that gloopy, sticky mud, so you're going to be carrying that round if you go straight through the middle of it. But Rory Leonard, again, we expected him to feature as the European under 23 10,000 metre champion, and he's making this as the 10,000 metre champion a test of strength.
You know what I'm loving about this, we see this great slow-mo of these lads going around this bend, is that cross-country running on a course like this doesn't take any prisoners. It's flat out from the gun pretty much, and that's been very much the theme of the day. And it reminds me of race walking, where, whatever your thoughts are on race walking, love it, hate it, somewhere in between, they give everything. Race walking is always incredibly aggressive up at the front end, and they have to stick to a certain discipline, and maybe it's a bit like 400 metre hurdles in that respect. You've got to get your stride pattern right, so actually you have to go out pretty hard. But these fellas here have an option to ease back a little bit, but they don't. If you're at the front and you ease back, somebody else will take over and push hard in your place.
Absolutely. It is a game of survival. It's so different to the track when the conditions are like this. It's just who can be the last man standing up front or the last woman standing. And obviously the camera and our commentary focuses on those in the medal positions, but I think if you went back and checked the splits, there'd be so many athletes who went out in that top 5, top 10 and just fell to absolute pieces. But we don't tend to focus on those stories as much, but that's all about the game. Can you measure your effort correctly? And likewise, on the contrary, those who hang back a little early, and if things are going too hot up front, as it can be when you have an athlete, say, like Megan Keith, churning the pace, you can really pick up the pieces and maybe run yourself into a medal that you thought might not be possible.
Rory Leonard from Will Barnicoat, Jorrit van der Kolkova was up there. Hovjord of Norway is giving a good account of himself. He's up there. He's in about 6th place at the moment in the dark glasses. Not quite sure how necessary those really are on a grey, damp day like this. But Macedonia in 6th place. They're isolated, centre of picture. Now he's a 3:31 1500 metre runner, just missed out on making the British team for the World Championships in Budapest. But there we see the names going through. Bresc and Jot for France. And van der Kolkova back in 8th place with the 6 minutes on the clock. By the way, they went out through the first lap in 3:02, which is exactly the same as in the men's under-20 race. They were really aggressive, the youngsters, earlier on.
I think we need that shorter distance and probably slightly bigger field, I would say, as well. Always a bit of a mad dash for that first one. We actually saw there something that happened in the last race as well. We saw Mustafa Musa of Finland, when he got to that point where last lap on the short lap he went straight on, but obviously this time it was roped off. He very nearly went straight ahead and just realised everyone else was turning left and quickly joined him. But Musa is running in that blue vest a very aggressive race here. We didn't expect him to be one of the leading contenders. It's obviously still very early days, but he was 18th in the European under-23 5,000 metres this summer and 8th in the Nordic cross-country championships. But here he is having a pop off a medal at the European under-23s over the cross-country. Maybe these are much more Nordic conditions, maybe much more to his liking.
Well, we mentioned the leader earlier on, Valentin Bresc of France. He was 3rd last year, and he's at the front now with 7.5 minutes on the clock, and the Frenchman looking strong. He's a 3:40 1500 metre runner, 13:51 for 5,000. His coach, Bastien Perrault, I'm sure, is on the sidelines yelling at him. But Rory Leonard there in the white cap, taking that inside line, hugging the railings around that bend, just running a couple of metres less perhaps than those out to his left. And 3 British vests in the top 5, including there, centre of picture, Estonia, the mile specialist, and great speed. He was 8th last year, Macedonia. He has shown enormous strength for somebody who's run 1:45 for 800. European and Commonwealth finalist at 1500 metres in 2022 as well.
And perhaps a big point to prove here, you know, he was hot favourite for the European under-23 championships in the summer over 1500 metres, fell short of the podium in 4th, and I'm sure that will have stung and stayed with him for the past 5 months or so. And this is his chance to make amends, and I can assure you, none of these athletes, it's still early days at the moment with 3 laps to run, but if you pass another 2 laps, there he is in 5th place. If any of them turn around and see Matthew Stoney behind them, they will feel a sense of dread as a 3:31 and 1:45 runner sitting in their slipstream. But 6 breaking clear to him at the front.
They are Great Britain leading by quite some margin, although Bresc and Flavien Jot of France giving a great account of themselves at the moment. Jot was 10th in the junior race 4 years ago at these European cross-country championships. Looks calm and relaxed, doesn't he? Does Valentin Bresc.
He really does. I think all of them kind of just, he looks particularly relaxed, but as you scan the faces, they all look to be running well within themselves here, and I think perhaps no one, when there isn't that big gulf in class or personal bests, a lot of these men might be looking at each other a little and just testing each other out a little, maybe just injecting a little on a certain turn, taking a glance over their shoulders, checking, has it done any damage? And at the moment, 6 men have been packed together for the last 5 minutes or so, although perhaps a little gap just opening there back to Finland's Mustafa Musa.
I think we can say quite safely nobody's going to dominate this race like Megan Keith did in the women's equivalent just a few minutes ago, winning that women's race by, was it 1 minute 23 seconds, something like that? That leading 6 just getting away now. A pack behind, surely somebody from that will come through, and you have to hope that somebody else will falter up in front as Bresc now takes the lead and continues to push on and turn the screw. You just got to keep that pressure on. Don't let it ever ease off. Don't let somebody who might be in a bit of trouble just a few meters behind you get that relief. If you put in hard sections, then ease off too much, you've wasted the hard work you've put in. You've got to just keep the pressure on those behind you, and they will gradually drop away. That's what you've got to keep telling yourself if you're leading in a distance race. Make it hurt. Keep the pressure up.
Yeah, and a lot of these athletes, I think that's one of the areas where maybe an athlete coming from the NCAA has an advantage, because this is an atmosphere. Obviously, if you've run the European U20 races or run this championship before, you'll be used to it. Some years can be louder than other years, but if you're not used to this in a 7K race, you could easily get it very wrong as you start running through those crowds. Your family, your friends, your countrymen, your teammates who've run the earlier races could be roaring at you, and that can help you or it can hinder you if you go too hard too early.
Well, Vebjørn Hovjord of Norway has joined that lead pack. He's moved up really well in the last 3 or 4 minutes. There he is, that long hair flapping around at the back. We now have a pack of 7 out in front with the French 1-2, and they will take reinforcement from this. It always gives you a little surge of adrenaline if you're alongside somebody, one of your club mates or one of your teammates in the national vest. And these two will be enjoying this, calling the shots at the moment. Rory Leonard maybe just going through a bad patch, looks a little tired there on this downslope on the better surface. You always want to try and make the most of that hard running as possible when it's a better drained downslope grassy section. And the French 1-2, Britain 3 and 4 through Barnicoat and Stonia. But where is Rory Leonard now? Yeah, he's had a real bad couple of minutes. Back in 7th place.
He has. He's running his stride. Has kind of gone a bit uneven there. He's not held together. It looks like maybe there's a bit of stomach distress or a stitch or something along those lines, because he does not look well at the moment. And perhaps that mud, like I was talking about earlier, what it does to your core conditions like this, it rips through your stomach, tests that core stability in a way you'll never be tested on the track. It's a different kind of pain cross country to everything else, but it looks like 5 men pulling clear. But Musa of Finland, against all odds, still in medal contention, still fighting the good fight and keeping these men in contention. And look at the red singlet there of Joel Ibler-Lelesso, Thomas Lewandowski, 2 athletes on the podium in 2 separate races. Lelesso is certainly an athlete with the class to get on the podium here, but he's got some work to do. And I think a lot of these men up front, the 2 Brits, the 2 French, are still comfortable and are kind of shadow boxing at the moment. There will be a move, and you're going to want to get with this group if you want to win a medal in the next maybe half mile.
13 minutes on the clock then, and they are motoring now. France 1-2, Great Britain 3-4, Norway 5 with that flapping hair. It's wonderful to see, isn't it, from the Norwegian there. And just wondering if those 5 are beginning to get away, or if Musa of Finland can hang in there. It's Bolerud of Norway who's up there. Yeah, more Abunashat, Bolerud.
Yeah, not far behind there at all is Adisu Gwadia of Israel as well, the 21-year-old Oklahoma State University student. Same as Rory Leonard, teammates there. He was 50th at the NCAA cross country, but 6th in this race last year. And you see him there in that white singlet. He is coming from mid-pack. He was well behind, but he is slowly squeezing down the throttle. And Leonard
is dropping out there, walking. He's had a really tough time, but I don't know. With 12 or 14 minutes on the clock, he's hit this dreadful patch, and whether he's got a stitch, I don't know, but when you get a stitch in a cross-country race, there's not much you can do about it. I experienced it myself in a World Championships. Nothing you can do. You can stand, touch your toes, try and limber up, get rid of that stitch, but once it kicks in, it's really crippling. And my heart goes out to Rory Leonard, who looked so strong for the first 10 minutes.
He did. He looked so comfortable, and he wouldn't have been doing that unless he felt good, so I don't think that was simply fatigue. There's something else going on with Rory Leonard, but He's out of the race, and that will hurt the British team chances of regaining their title. France, silver medalist last year, look to be in command right now, but we'll update those standings. There you see it, France have taken over now, 17 points. Quite the tally, quite the mark been set down, and their two men lead the way at the moment.
So, Valentin Bresc of France, the bronze medalist 12 months ago, continues to call the shots. His teammate Flavien Jot, who is a 3:37 1500 metre performer. He's no slouch, and a 7:49 runner at 3000. He's got great speed endurance. He's in third place at the moment. They're moving nicely though. Barnicoat and Estonia in second and fourth respectively, and still being led a merry dance by Bresc. I get the impression he feels very confident, looks confident and strong and calm and controlled as Bresc. Look at that, time to adjust his hair. Got to get that right for those photos if he crossed the line first. Doesn't he look fantastic?
Well, Mr. Bollerod, I think, wins on the hair stakes today, let's be honest, back in fifth. No one is touching him with that fan. He looks like he could lead a 1970s rock band, but he is getting close to leading this race, gradually creeping into medal contention.
That's really tough for Rory Leonard, the 22-year-old, who's had such a great year with that European U23 10,000 title. What a huge disappointment for him to have had a bad day at the office.
But you have to wonder, Tim, at this point, yes, Valentin Bresc looks so comfortable, but with an athlete like Matt Stonier, at what point, if you're Bresc or the other two men near him, do you start to panic and start to worry about that 1:45 800 metre speed that Stonier has? Because he's not going away.
Well, he's not going away, and he's just hanging in there at the back of the pack. But it is the old thing about distance running, and if you're in the lead, you've just got to be patient. You've just got to keeping the pressure up. Keep pressing. Barnicoat, Jot, Estonia, Hofer of Switzerland, and Bollerod in fifth and sixth respectively. Guardia going well there for Israel. He's having a fabulous run in seventh place.
Hofer, I think, is a real surprise package here. He hasn't broken 14 minutes for 5,000 metres, but he is very much running himself into medal contention here for Switzerland. Only 20 years old. He was 60th as a junior back in 2019. He was 21st last year in the under-20 race, and now he's stepping up to under-23 in that red vest. Diminutive athlete back in fifth, and if he can just put in a hard little section here on this downhill, he will put himself with this leading quartet with a lap to run. Hofer running the race of his life for Switzerland.
Well, Barnicoat to the right of picture, last year's under-20 champion. He earned his colours, so to speak, in the junior ranks. He was 22nd and then 9th and then 1st for 3 appearances in the under-20 races. Will Barnicoat, and now giving a wonderful account of himself in his first appearance in the under-23 races. He's still only 20 years old. Bresc calling the shots, but Barnicoat has got great speed. 3:40 for 1,500 metres. 13:45 for 5,000 makes him pretty useful. He was only 12th in Liverpool at the trials, but that was in the senior race, I think, so he'd have been high up in the under-23 ranks. 18 and a half minutes nearly on the clock, and they hear the bell, and now Bresc maybe has turned the screw another notch, because he has accelerated here. Barnicoat in his slipstream, almost tucked in right behind him. Stonier has gone with them, and it's the other Frenchman who's beginning to struggle a little bit there. And
that's Flavien Jot.
It is Jot. Flavien Jot in fourth place. Are we seeing 3 separate themselves for the medals?
And I would not be surprised if one of these athletes like Joe Libler-Lelesso or Guadia of Israel comes through and perhaps picks up a bronze medal if any of these people up front fall apart, because they are really moving at a decent pace there. You see Lelesso on the top of your shot there in that red vest. Guadia down on the right in that white singlet, just struggling through the mud. You can see the differences of opinion here, the different tactics. Lelesso deciding to go wide, find that good ground. Others just going straight through the thick of it, but 3 in the battle for gold.
And Great Britain in 22 points, France 24. There's a real ding-dong going on between Britain and France for the medals, the gold medal placing, I should say. Norway in third place. Fabulous performance from the Norwegians so far. Spain in fourth. Belgium in fifth. There it is. And this is going to be so tight. Every place will count massively. Estonia still there. I thought he was gone for a minute just now, but He's hanging in there.
You see him there, like the true track specialist, trying to find the closest thing to track he can find out there, which is that dry section right in on the rail. He's probably brushing off some of those spectators. But as much as Bresc has definitely increased the pace here with a lap to run, trying to break these two Brits beside him or behind him, he has not succeeded. And Stonier repeatedly has looked like he might be on the cusp of cracking, but it never grows more than 5-6 meters. Every time it's almost about to, he just digs in again. He's kept contact, and if he can do that for another maybe 2 minutes or so and starts turning into the last quarter mile, Matt Stonier will start feeling very confident about his chances.
Well, their last 3 laps of 1,500 metres have gone 5:11, 5:14, 5:11, and you can bet this final circuit of the metric mile will be quicker. Bresc is trying everything. He's throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, at the Britons in second and third. Will Barnicoat, I know his coach Tim Eglin, will be watching this one, absolutely yelling away at his athlete. And then likewise for Stonier, whose coach Chris and Sonny McGeorge, his coaches, are here at dinner with him on Friday night. They're very excited to see what he could do here as a fabulous miler, what he can do over this longer distance and over the country in a difficult surface. I mean, many track runners would say this is a nightmare for them, trying to control your movement on this surface, and yet he's going so well and hanging on. He's always just 2 or 3 meters down. I wish he was a little bit closer to convince me he's comfortable, but he looks like he's hanging on Stonier there in third place.
Yeah, he's not letting that grow. The two men out front are both 3:40 1,500 meter runners. Stonier in third is a 3:31, but we were almost hanging the gold medal earlier on around Niels Laros's neck in the under-20 race, given his superior 800 metres and 1,500 metre speed. And despite turning for home in front, he got run down by an endurance animal in Axel Van Christensen. But now Stonier starts to draw in. This is the point of the race. They're turning into that final little loop. Probably only about 600 metres left, I think, from here. And Stonier, it's starting to open up, and Bresc, now he's putting the pressure on. Is this decisive?
Well, I'll tell you what, my heart says I want a Brit to win for obvious reasons, but Bresc has done so much of the work. He's led the vast majority of the race, the Frenchman. He's really applied the pressure lap after lap. He's the one who's put in the hard effort, and he now looks to me like maybe he's got rid of Stonier. Matt Stonier, the 22-year-old who has fabulous speed, the quickest in the race at 1,500 metres, 8th last year, has now got a gap of about 7 or 8 metres between him and the leading pair. He's in bronze medal position and looks safe for that. But Bresc, from Will Barnicoat, the under-20 champion last year, surely he can't come back straight away and win the under-23 title, as Valentin Bresc kicks on and into the home straight, more or less. He doesn't have the same strength as Barnicoat, who is tucked in there and glances over his shoulder. Now, is that telling? Is Barnicoat worried about what's going on behind him instead of what's going on around him? He's in the lead now for the first time. It's absolutely the first time that Britain has got his nose in front, but Bresc has now got a target. Sometimes it's maybe better to be a metre behind somebody than a metre in front of them. Stonier too is chasing hard. The gap behind this first 3 is massive because of the battle going on between them. But Barnicoat here has got to stay focused. Got to keep his head down and drive for the line, and Bresc has got a target. He's worked so hard, the Frenchman, lap after lap, and he's not giving up. No chance for Barnicoat here to relax as they come towards the line, and the Frenchman is coming back at him. Valentin Bresc is pushing hard to try and catch Will Barnicoat of Great Britain. It's going to be Barnicoat, though, who takes gold for Great Britain in the men's under-23 contest. Absolutely brilliant racing here in Brussels. Britain, France and Britain get bronze, a fabulous bronze medal for the miler, Matt Stonier. And 4th place battled out fiercely there between the Spaniard and the Norwegian. Goodness me, let's take a look at who got that one. Very, very tight indeed. Bollerod given 4th place ahead of Baidal of Spain. Mileso making it a 6th place for Denmark, European Junior 5,000 champion from a couple of years ago. Guardia of Israel 7th, Hofer of Switzerland in 8th. Great running from these fellas in that team race. What has happened, Cal?
Well, we'll wait for the final athletes to get across the line before we call that one. But Tim, you said with about 300 metres to go there, is Will Barnicoat looking behind because he's struggling? And I thought the same thing as you, but I think as the next few seconds played out, it was quite clear that Will Barnicoat was not looking behind in terms of being caught in the race for silver. He was looking around to check where Matt Stonier, his British teammate, was with that vicious 1500 metre speed he has, because I think at that point he knew he had Valentin Bresc's number, and he knew the biggest danger was coming not from in front or alongside, but from behind. And when he saw Matt Stonier dropped, Will Barnicoat went for it. But Valentin Bresc, we'd expect nothing less after the way he ran that race, other than to fight back and make Will Barnicoat go right to the line. Under 20 champ last year by about a metre or two. Under 23 champ this year by a metre or two.
Yeah, he's earned his goals the hard way, hasn't he? Last year, Nick Griggs' legs going from under him, and the final run-in, and Barnicoat winning by about a metre, as you say. But 1 and 3 for Great Britain there. Where's their third placer? Can they get another gold medal, the British squad here? That is the big question. Looking for the third British scorer, and you have to go down a long way. 21st place, James Kingston.
Yeah, France with Valentin Bresc in second, and then it is Theo Rubens Benini in 15th, and then Flavien Zott in 17th.
That, I think, will mean Britain take it, the team title. Unofficially, we think it's Great Britain, France and Norway, 1, 2, 3. Wait for that confirmation.
Yeah, 25 is Britain's tally, and France in second. Britain have taken gold with 25 points. France takes silver with 34, and it is Norway, led by that amazing run by Bollerod, in fourth. Take bronze medal, a well-earned bronze medal for Norwegian. Spain back in fourth.
Well, Matt Stonier there getting some consolation for, as you said, not getting a medal at the European Under-23 track 1500 metres in the summer, where he was expected to take the gold, frankly, and certainly get on the rostrum. But that is wonderful running from Stonier. Winner of the Emsley Carlisle in North London back in 2022. Very much a middle distance man, and this is something about this new generation of middle and long distance runners, isn't it, Cal? You go back 10 years and you didn't get 800 and 1500 men getting medals in the European cross country, apart from a certain Ingebrigtsen, Jakob Ingebrigtsen maybe, but it's a new phenomenon, this ability to place really well in 5,000s and longer distances in the country and so on by 800 metre runners, 1500 metre runners.
I almost think there's been a bit of a shift in the last 10, 15 years. It happened in the US and it's happened in Europe as well, and I think that's a big part of the resurgence of European distance running, led by the likes of Josh Kerr, Jake Whiteman, Jakob Ingebrigtsen, so many others. Sifan Hassan in there as well, whereby athletes are moving back towards the higher volume training. Straight on to the senior women's race, because they're on the line. We'll stop talking about something we don't know that much about. I coach no one. Senior women are on the start line. It's lightning quick here, race to race. They've been